Welcome everyone to our webinar today, Customer Talk, how we improved end-user experience with Service Desk. Today our presenters will be Derek Potras, Manager of ITSM Sales here at CareWorx, and we will also be joined by Karen Juday, Director of IT Customer Service with the University of Southern California. Without further ado, I will pass the presentation to Derek.
Thanks for the intro, Renita. I just want to start out by thanking everyone for joining Karen and I today. We thought it would be valuable for everyone attending today to actually hear from a real-world case. So I'd like to introduce you to Karen Juday. As I mentioned, she's the ITS Customer Service Director with the University of Southern California. And Karen has great experience. Karen spent 21 years actually in information technology at Ford Motor Company. She also worked for 13 years at Central Michigan University as the IT manager for customer relationship management and web development, and has been with the University of Southern California for 4.5 years now, starting as the Senior Manager of Learning Environments, and for the past 18 months as the Director of IT Customer Service. So, Karen, I guess the first question that would be good maybe to address for the group, sort of set the stage, maybe you could describe what your help desk looked like a year ago before bringing in a partner to help you with that.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you for the introduction. And just to give everybody some context before I talk about the help desk, USC has about 44,000 students, 4,200 faculty, and about 14,500 staff members. So that's the internal community. And then, of course, as a university that's located downtown Los Angeles, we have a lot of interactions with the outside world as well. We have multiple campuses in California and across the U.S., but our two main campuses are downtown Los Angeles. So our central IT service desk supports things like account setups and password changes, security and systems access, network connectivity, enterprise applications like email, telephone and data services, financial business systems, and some desktop support. And our help desk staff includes a manager, 9 full-time agents, and 25 to 30 part-time student workers. The team handles about 100,000 calls and 28,000 emails per year. So that's just to give you an idea of roughly of our size. So about a year ago, our frontline team was working Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday, 1 to 5 p.m. To cover those weekend hours, we had a full-time staff member and 2 student workers that were scheduled to work 2 4-hour days. And then the full-time staff member had to be off on a weekday to make up for the hours they worked on the weekend. This was a rotating schedule among the staff. So, and on every week we would have a day where we were short-staffed.
It sounds like with that volume, you may have had many pain points at that time, but can you tell us maybe the top 3 pain points for you at that time when you started, maybe looking for some help and some partners to help out?
Sure. So, probably the biggest pain point was not really on my group, but it was on our 24/7 operations center. So during the off hours, when we were not staffed on the front line, those calls rolled over to the operations center, who was also responsible for monitoring systems, server maintenance, incident management for any major service outages. And the frontline calls coming to them after hours and on the weekends just added a burden, which kept them from being able to perform their primary duties. And then, corollary to that is that the customer satisfaction with the after-hour service was quite a bit below that of our primetime service. To be fair, that's because the operations center couldn't really provide the same level of service because of their other duties. And then finally, tying up one of my full-time staff members on the weekends left us short-staffed during the week. So I've already mentioned that, but the call volumes are highest Monday through Friday, and sort of 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is really our peak call time. So having someone out on a weekday put a lot of pressure on everyone else who was there, and also led to more abandoned calls and longer wait times for the customers.
No, excellent. That gives us a good picture. Could you give us an idea of the opportunity cost of those pain points you just outlined, and what you think was being affected the most?
Well, I think, like I mentioned, the biggest impact really was on the operational effectiveness of the operations center. By answering frontline calls instead of being able to proactively monitor systems and services, there were some lost opportunities and maybe even some outages that resulted in that because they couldn't be eyes on glass paying attention to what they were responsible for. And then, of course, also very important is the fact that we had degraded customer service during those off hours and that we were short-staffed during the week in order to, accommodate the weekend hours.
So, yeah, I started having some pains, and then, you went to the market to sort of look for some solutions. Can you give us an idea of sort of what that looked like, your journey of looking at solutions to overcome some of those issues you mentioned?
So prior to hearing about CareWorx, I was looking at a model of, hiring additional student workers or full-time staff members to cover 24/7 because my ACIO had made it clear that my frontline team needed to start covering that in order to free up the operations center. So I would have had to add quite a few additional resources to cover 24/7 because I was really only covering Monday through Friday first shift and a couple of extra hours beyond that. And we did that by off-shifting people. But budget constraints for salary plus the challenge of adding headcount were real obstacles. And those of you in higher ed can probably relate to that. It's very hard to add headcount. So that was going to be a challenge to build that case.
So then comes, the time to sort of bring in a third party. And, one thing we hear from our customers all the time is sort of that, that culture shift of providing services solely internally to moving to bringing in a third party help desk solution. Sometimes that can be cumbersome for some. How would you describe your onboarding, with CareWorx and the overall sort of transition?
Well, I attended a webinar like this one about a year ago, and then I liked what I heard, so I had a follow-up call with CareWorx to talk about options, and I really liked the service model and the fact that CareWorx is based in North America. Also, I didn't anticipate as much resistance from my full-time staff because I wasn't, replacing anybody. I was really extending the service to hours that they weren't staffed to cover. So we started out with a pilot just for one semester. We looked at the fall semester of 2016 as our toe in the water. Let's just see how this goes. But from the very beginning, we've been really happy because CareWorx has always operated as a partner. We gave them an initial set of knowledge articles for our most common types of calls and provided an initial training session. And from that point on, they have shared that information and any new knowledge articles that we need to share with them. They just pass that along to the staff. They've done all the training of any additional staff that they've added to the team. And they've been very flexible about meeting with us for discussions, for looking at statistics, for training, knowledge transfer, anything really that we felt a need to discuss with them. They've been very flexible. And of course, it wasn't, smooth as silk. We had some bumps in the beginning, but we learned very quickly, and it was always a very collegial working relationship. And we were able to work through any of the bumps and bruises and get things on an even keel very quickly.
Excellent. What are some of the key features Service Desk has brought to your organization? And I guess, were there any additional benefits that you saw that you weren't really expecting out of the gate?
The key thing and the main driver, of course, was to extend the coverage of my frontline team to 24/7. So they enabled me to do that without having to add headcount. And it's not just an answering service. It's the fact that it's technically skilled resources who were able to resolve a significant percentage of our customer issues in that first call. We were also able to reallocate the weekend student coverage to evenings instead of the weekends, and that we also freed up our full-time staff to work only Monday through Friday, and we actually shortened our hours to end at 6 p.m. So we were able to squeeze more of our most skilled employees into those peak call times. Then finally, CareWorx has really been flexible when our evening students don't show up. They've been very flexible about picking up the extra hours. So, student workers can be unreliable, but CareWorx is always there, and that's been a wonderful safety net for us. And then a side benefit that I guess I had in the back of my mind, but it's going to move more to the forefront. Being in Los Angeles, we think a lot about disaster recovery, and having a third party who is located elsewhere geographically is a great benefit for business continuity and disaster recovery, knowing that they're already up to speed on our protocols and our services, that we know that we're going to make them part of our business continuity disaster recovery plan.
Yeah, excellent. It's a great point. So how does your organization go about rating customer satisfaction? Like, that's always sort of the end goal is, to keep satisfaction levels high and improve them. Can you tell us how CareWorx Service Desk affected your customer sat compared to what it was before implementation?
Actually, we measure that, and we pay pretty close attention to it. So we use ServiceNow for our ticketing system for customer issues and requests. And we enter a case in ServiceNow for every call we receive, and that's also CareWorx has extended that capability to be 24/7. So out of around 3,900 or 4,000 after hours and weekend calls since we started with our partnership, CareWorx has resolved or deferred more than 65% of those away from our operations center, who used to take those calls. It may not seem like 65% is much, but we've given CareWorx absolutely no access to any of our systems so far. So they're doing that with no access to anything other than our knowledge articles. We use a 5-point Likert scale to measure customer satisfaction, and the ServiceNow system actually automatically sends surveys to customers once their tickets are closed. So I'm able to see, sort of by group, what the customer satisfaction scores are that are coming back. So just to give you an idea, the average customer satisfaction with our daytime service is 4.59 on a 5-point scale. With our operations center, it's 4.23. And that's also the average customer satisfaction for our entire IT organization. CareWorx is giving us a customer satisfaction score of 4.36. So significantly better than what customers were experiencing with the operations center. And we think that that could improve significantly when we're able to give them system access to actually go in and directly make changes, change passwords, and help folks directly.
Yeah, that's excellent. A lot of that with yourself, with a lot of our customers, it's sort of, again, that partnership and that trust, right? So as that trust starts to get into place, then customers do provide us more access, or are able to extend that help and expand it. So I'm glad you brought that up. Are there any key considerations that you'd offer to others, in your situation? We've got a lot of people on the call today that may be looking for solutions, and as they look for solutions, are there any best practice advice based on your experience maybe you could share? I think that would be valuable.
Well, so, the one I just mentioned, I think one of the biggest challenges has been that we have not been able to provide access to CareWorx to any of our systems so far. So this limits their ability to assist our customers. To the extent that you can give them access and provide them with your knowledge and your procedures, they can handle a higher percentage of the frontline calls. Also, I would say just stay in close contact. We meet weekly and talk about anything that may have come up, any new launches that are on the horizon, any major incidents. We share all our alerts with them. So we stay in very close contact and keep the lines of communication open, and that has helped immensely. We've been very satisfied with their level of service and with their partnership approach.
I just want to thank you for being so open and candid. I think, to have these sessions and have it from a customer perspective as opposed to, the solution provider sort of just talking about themselves, I think really resonates. So really appreciate you taking the time to jump on and do this with us. It's certainly appreciated, and I'm sure the people joining the webinar appreciate it. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
I want to thank everyone again for your time. We really appreciate it. Okay, have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.